My name is Luke, and this is what scared us. There's a quote that I love from Alfred Hitchcock. He said, "There's no terror in the bang, only in the anticipation of it." Essentially, the suspense is greater than the surprise.
What are you doing?
He scared me.
Modern horror has an over-reliance on using jump scares to frighten its audience, but too many jump scares are exhausting and leave viewers unsatisfied.
4 people are sitting around a table. Suddenly, a bomb goes off. Blows the people to smithereens. What do the audience have? 10 seconds of shock. Now take the same scene and tell the audience there is a bomb under that table and will go off in 5 minutes. But the whole emotion of the audience is totally different because you've given them that information.
So today, let's elevate our perspective and look at an example of modern horror that got it right in James Wan's The Conjuring. Great horror comes from a well-crafted story, and built into a well-crafted story are great characters.
A well-crafted story and a good story is one of the few ways we can really not tell somebody you have to feel for somebody else, but make somebody feel because they're experiencing it through entertainment.
After the cold open, The Conjuring spends 21 minutes introducing us to the 2 families in the film. The Perron family.
Where do you want it? That goes in the living room.
Hey, Andrea, where's my wind chime?
I think Nancy's got it in the other one.
Oh, thanks.
And the Warren family.
How'd it go?
Oh, I think you may write a positive article.
Ooh, a non-skeptic.
We learn about their work, their habits, and even their financial struggles. Their stories are compelling, and much of the film's success is due to the care it takes in developing the family's relationships.
With Val Lewton, when he was making his movies, he said it has to work in 2 ways. It has to be the horror plot, and then if you took the horror out, it would still work, you know.
But horror has to merge these 2 parts together, and one of the best ways The Conjuring does it is through its framing. Early in the film, the framing stays wide and encompasses multiple characters in each shot, cementing the close relationship of their family. But once the scares start happening, the wide framing becomes ominous as it keeps plenty of the background in the frame, shifting our focus to multiple places in each shot. This is amplified by the camera's seamless movement throughout the house. It'll focus on a character in a room, and then pan with them into the hallway.
I like the house to feel as real as possible because what that does is it gives me the freedom to follow actors from room to room without cutting it up. And I think that style of filmmaking is very important to the way I construct my scares, my set pieces. You know, and also that way it feels more like a real house.
Early on, this movement is used to teach us the geography of the house, but later it serves as a way to draw out scenes and create tension with lingering shots.
First clap!
But visuals aren't the only way to scare an audience, and if you ask James Wan, they aren't even the most important.
I've always said what makes scary movies work is not so much the visual, it's the sound. It's what you think you see through the sound design that is the most important thing.
The unsettling sounds in The Conjuring aren't often achieved through its musical score, but its lack thereof. During its most tense moments, it cuts out everything except for the diegetic sound, which is sound that originates from within the film's world, like a creaking door, or a tightening noose. This builds tension as we wait for something to suddenly break the silence, and to push it even further, the film prefers to use a much slower pacing. It utilizes numerous long takes, some lasting nearly 60 seconds, to leave the tension unbroken and push it to its bursting point.
It's like the suspense is a rubber band, and I'm just stretching it and stretching it and stretching and see how far it can stretch. As long as that rubber band can stretch, the longer the scene can hold, the more suspenseful it is. So you want to just stretch it until the rubber band breaks.
The Conjuring doesn't have too many breaks, but the ones it does have, it makes the most of. They're slowly built up to, and used as payoffs for a suspenseful segment. They also aren't cheap and always serve a larger purpose within the narrative. It's the maid who we learned killed herself.
And a woman who worked as a maid in a neighboring home, she committed suicide too.
Or the legs of the witch that hanged herself from the tree.
She ran out to that tree by the dock, climbed up, proclaimed her love to Satan, cursed anyone who tried to take her land, and hung herself.
The film stays away from too many uses of the Luton bus scare, where an innocuous object or person surprises someone followed by a loud stinger sound. It respects its audience too much for that, and instead goes the route of quality over quantity. So now with all that, let's look at some of these techniques and a breakdown of one of the film's best scenes, the ever-scary hide and clap. The scene begins with Carolyn folding laundry, but the framing draws our focus away towards the door, and for good reason. After she hears children laughing, Carolyn turns off the radio and hears 2 claps coming from the hallway. This works because it was set up earlier and acts as an immediate warning to the audience. We then get a 40-second shot of her checking on her kids, accompanied only by diegetic sound. The slow pacing and lingering camera build tension and make the scene feel noticeably longer. And after a 1:21-second shot composed of only 2 cuts, we finally get our first scare when the photos fall off the wall. This scare is achieved purely through sound. We don't see the fallen pictures until we follow Carolyn out of the room, and when she goes to investigate it, she's suddenly much smaller in the frame. This is the biggest occurrence yet, and the framing tells us just how powerless she truly is. Even when it pushes back in, the wide lens keeps plenty of the background in frame and makes us feel like we inhabit the physical space with her. This continues during a 46-second shot of Carolyn searching the first floor. It all culminates in the best use of Foley yet, as we hear a creak behind Carolyn and pan around agonizingly slow to see the previously closed basement door is wide open. We're nearly 3 minutes into this scene and we're just now getting to the basement. We get another shot where Carolyn is even smaller in the frame, and this, combined with the only use of POV, tells us the danger is getting closer. We get a great misdirection scare here as the camera perfectly frames the basement, only for the scare to come from her right. After she falls to the bottom of the stairs, the camera pulls back to its furthest point. The safety of the door is now well out of reach, but the danger has never been closer. Even when we cut to her, the framing keeps that sense of danger by placing the basement as the dominant object in the frame, even shifting the focus to it. The rubber band is as tight as it can be, but the scene still waits another 36 seconds to give us a scare. This is the first time we get music in this scene, and it serves to raise the tension even higher. It only stops after the light explodes, casting the room into complete darkness. At this point, we once again have no sound, and the piercing quiet has the audience flinching at every noise. We cut between the basement stairs and her face, each time getting closer to mimic the approaching danger. But just when we expect something to be there when the match lights, or coming up the stairs, we're hit with one last misdirection and the ultimate scare. In total, this scene lasted just under 5 minutes, and may be one of the best segments in the long history of horror. From its slow pacing and constant tension to its framing and diegetic sound, it acts as a microcosm of what the film does so well. And it's also the perfect way to demonstrate how it scared us.